SOP 217, we've got proof that content is king.
It's the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Here's Dave Jackson.
Alrighty, thank you very much for tuning in to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. I am Dave Jackson. Our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. You can email me, Dave, at schoolofpodcasting.com, and you can call in your comments courtesy of podcastvoicemail.com. It's 888-563-3228. This is where we talk about all things podcasting, and today it's weird because I'm talking about a book, but I will tell you how it pertains to podcasting. That is, and what is the book? It's called Stuff White People Like, and it's by a guy named Christian Lander. You can actually, it started off as a blog at stuffwhitepeoplelike.com, and I actually briefly met him. I was talking at the University of Dayton a couple weeks ago about podcasting, and he was there because it was a writer's workshop, and I was explaining how writers could use podcasting to build their audience. And here is his story. It was about a half-hour story. I'm boiling it down to about 4 minutes. But basically, he had this idea of stuff that white people like. Because, there's cultures, there are different cultures. There's, the African-American culture. There's the Hispanic culture. All have their own thing, right? And for some reason, it's like white people don't have culture. And he was saying, well, yeah, there are. There are certain things that white people like. And he had this idea on January 18th, 2008. And he sent a text to his friend, and his friend sent an idea back, and they both thought it was funny. And he said, that's it, I'm starting a blog. And so every day he would post a new topic about here's something else that white people like. And that was on January 18th. He sent an email to 25 people, friends, basically saying, hey, I think this is funny. And apparently it was, because he started this January 18th. By March 8th, he had William Morris as his agency. Those are the people that represent supermodels and such, and actors and such. So less than 2 months, he had William Morris as his agent. March 31st, he had a book deal, and it was time to turn the blog into a book. So he sequestered himself basically for a month, and he got the book deal on March 31st. On May 1st, he had his final draft. And in a nutshell, by July, it had been published. By July 18th, he was on the New York Times best sellers. So he started with an idea that he sent to 25 friends January 18th. By July 18th, he was on the New York Times bestseller. On September 6th, 2008, he was on the Conan O'Brien show. Probably partly due because one of the things that white people like is Conan O'Brien. But I wanted to point that out because I've read some of his blogs. I think they're entertaining. I don't know if it's the best content, but apparently he found a niche that really strikes with, I don't know if it's yuppies or what, but they just think it's hilarious. Jerry O'Connell, who was on the Conan O'Brien show with Christian, was so geeked out to meet the guy that wrote stuff white people like. He couldn't believe it. Meanwhile, Christian was like, wow, I get to meet Jerry O'Connell. I loved him in Stand By Me. And it turned out they had this mutual thing. And so if you feel you're kind of like a Jerry O'Connell kind of person, you would probably love this material. But it went very viral, mainly because people thought it was funny and they forwarded it to their friends. Now, you're like, but I don't write things funny. Well, okay, it moved them in a way that they wanted to forward it to their friends. And again, he started off with 25 people. He actually started off with one friend and a text message. And, 6 months later was on the New York Times best sellers list. Now, the one thing I do want to point out that Christian pointed out is the fact that when you put yourself on the intranet, did I say intranet? Internet. People will like you and people will hate you, depending on what you're talking about. And in my opinion, good content, you either have fans, but you're probably going to have people that just think you're stupid or hate you. Because if you're trying to put out material that is going to please everybody, you're probably going to please nobody. That's a really huge generalization. But the power of the niche comes into play. If you're talking to a certain group of people, they're going to love it because they probably can't find that information anywhere else. Where if you write it so that everybody will enjoy it, it may not be that special because you can probably get that information everywhere else. A classic example of this is the No Agenda Show at noagendashow.com. This is Adam Curry, the Podfather, John C. Dvorak, and they dig up news stories from what sounds like reliable sources, and you can't believe these are not being talked about in mainstream media. For example, right now, I don't know if they're still talking about it, but mainstream media went on the whole the state of Arizona made it basically illegal. They could deport illegal aliens. They could ask for your papers, and everybody was like, oh, they're racist, and oh, this is horrible. And well, there's a reason for that. Phoenix, Arizona is number 2 in the world for kidnapping. And basically, it's anarchy in Arizona. So the governor's like, that's it. We're passing a law. We have the right to chuck you out of the state because their state's being overrun and it's not safe to live there. That's not on mainstream media. I don't know why it's not. Mainly because big companies own the stations that run news, and that's a really long story as to why. And if you want to find out why, listen to No Agenda at noagendashow.com. Now, I say that they spend hours doing research for their content, and they have a program where you can be a knight of the No Agenda Show. All you have to do is send them $1,000. And apparently, assuming they are telling the truth, and I have no reason to believe they're lying, people are doing this because of the content, because they believe in the show, because they want the show to continue. It's that fan loyalty. You can also sign up and do $5 a month donation. But to me right now, that's the power of content. Content is king. I always say content is king, presentation is queen. You've got to have a decent looking website. I know I have found that as I get more and more, I'm getting a lot of freebies now for my podcast. Not this particular one, but part of it is because my website looks good. So to wrap up today, content is king. And when people think, oh, I've got one podcast, I'm going to do 4 more. Realize, let's say you have a bucket of phenomenal content. If you spread that across 4 podcasts, you're going to end up watering down your great content. So one of the reasons why I've whittled down some of mine. And people often say, Dave, you don't put out a show every week for the School of Podcasting like you did when you first started. And that is true. And I would say to that, first of all, I'm on episode number 217. How many times can I say the same thing? Podcasting doesn't change that much. And then if I don't have anything to say, I don't say it. I'm not going to put out an episode just to say, come, sign up at my website, start your podcast today. That's not good content. That's a commercial. And so I always try to have something that is useful, good content. And at the end, I say something like, hey, if you want to start a podcast, I know a great place to go. Go to the School of Podcasting. We've got step-by-step tutorials. We've got resources. So if you need music for your background, if you need links to software, if you're looking for cool plugins for WordPress, plus we have live webinars where you can ask me, your personal podcast coach, your own podcasting questions. Not to mention the fact that I answer lots of emails from members of the School of Podcasting. That's my pitch. That's my commercial. And I usually say it at the end of the podcast like I just did, which means that's the end of this podcast. So hope you understand that content is king. If you're going to spend time on anything, and you think, well, if I could just, we're spending hours and hours making the site look good. Take that time, put it into content harvesting and content. What's the word I'm looking for? Just making sure your content is the best it can be. So that's going to do it. Until next week, class is dismissed.